Chapter 2. The cold didn't announce itself. It climbed. Boots first. Through insulation, through dampeners, through the lie that standing still was restful. Then the joints, ankles, knees, hips. Pressure, patient as gravity. Captain Jaxxon stood on the apron outside forward base Kestrel and let it settle. No stamping, no wasted motion. The body complained, the mind recorded. Neither was in charge. Beyond the perimeter berm, the far north spread flat and white. Frozen ground, low ridgelines like buried spines. Scrub poking through wind-scoured snow in brittle patches. Visibility for kilometers, and every meter felt exposed. You could see everything and still feel watched. Behind him, Kestrel lived quietly. Low composite shelters half sunk into permafrost. Heat plumes bled close to ground. No vertical signatures. No flags, no unnecessary lights. Security drones ran dim, optics throttled unless needed. Temporary by design. Gone when required. On the landing pad, HAVOC-9 loaded out. Sable Wraith waited with the calm ugliness of something built to do harm at speed. Matte, blunt, angles where they mattered. No bright paint, no crest. Just a name stenciled beneath the cockpit in small block letters. Engines already warm, low hum felt more than heard. Hull skin bled heat in controlled vents, angled to avoid crisp thermal bloom against snow. Mechanics moved with restraint. Tools didn't clatter. Voices didn't carry. Fast, competent, forgettable. Which meant good. HAVOC wasn't forgettable. 10 bodies in mixed armor profiles, tuned to roll, not vanity. Plates scarred, unpolished, edges worn soft where hands gripped them thousands of times. Nothing new, nothing decorative. Everything maintained. Jaxxon walked toward them, boots crunching on packed snow. He passed Roth Cade first. Base of the ramp, HX65ARB across his lap, like something alive. Not cleaning it, checking it. The way a man checks a lock, out of habit, out of distrust. Inspection complete, he slapped a drum mag, placed the rifle down, packed the last pieces before lift. Kale Dravik knelt beside an open case of modular launcher pods. EMP, thermic, shaped charge. Each labeled, each keyed to his armor interface. His hands moved like a surgeon's, steady enough to be unsettling. Thomas Kell leaned against ammunition crates, loading the last magazines for his HX-79 DMR. 7.92 by 58 millimeters. Cold fingers worked methodically. He smiled anyway, wide and easy. Kell stared at the blowing white beyond the ramp. "I swear to fuck," he said. "This planet wakes up every morning and asks how it can personally ruin my day." Holt didn't look up. "You say that on every planet. And I'm right on every planet." Cade checked his mag, gave it a lazy slap. "Funny how the weather hates you, but never manages to kill you." Kell grinned. "It tries. I'm just better." "You're not better," Holt said. "You're lucky. Luck's just experience that hasn't been fucked yet." Cade snorted. "Speaking of fucked, you tapped that blonde the other night?" "Which one?" "You know which one. The one at Reno's." The memory clicked. "Oh yeah, she—" "Don't you mean he?" Valak said, dry as bone. Laughter exploded through the team. "Hey, fuck you, Val. He was definitely a she. And yeah, I did." Jackson's voice cut through it. Calm. Final. 2 minutes. Let's go." The laughter died fast. Elise Volder stood just outside the circle, then looked back at his kit. The new medic. Light assault armor, medical interface pack mounted tight against his back. He checked with the intensity of someone trying to prove he belonged without saying so. P-57 SMG slung forward. suppressed sidearm seated high on his thigh, eyes moving constantly, seals, latches, readouts, baseline vitals pulsing across his interface. Silas Wren watched him. Wren's posture relaxed in the way that meant the opposite. Low-profile stealth plate, suppressed DMR in his hands, not cradled, not slung, held ready. His face gave away nothing. He didn't mock Alias, didn't help him, simply watched. And the watching was pressure. Alias knew it. He didn't react. Jaxxon let it stand. The friction wasn't personal. It was how this unit calibrated trust. Wren had lost his previous medic 6 months ago. Clean kill, fast, no theatrics. Somehow that made it worse. Professional failure turned into a scar that didn't show until touched. Alias hadn't earned the space yet. That wasn't cruelty. That was reality. Jaxxon stepped up to the loadout tables, last-minute check phase, the part outsiders never imagine when they picture special forces. They imagine motion, contact, explosions. They don't imagine 10 people quietly going through gear like accountants because a single missing line item gets people killed. HAVOC's weapons weren't pretty. Loud, heavy, brutal, reliable, maintained obsessively. Personalized in small, invisible ways that made them fit hand and brain, but standardized where it mattered so anyone could pick up anyone else's rifle and keep moving. No wonder weapons. No magic ammunition. No AI aiming. Skill wins. Discipline wins. Mass and coordination win. Jaxxon's primary sat in his hands like something that belonged there. HX-65 ARB assault rifle. Gas-operated, short-stroke piston. Short barrel, perfect for close quarters. Effective out to 500-600 meters, depending on conditions. Most of its work would happen closer. Integrated suppressor sleeve, not for silence, nothing made weapons silent, but to shave off concussion, keep the signature from blooming hard. Variable optic, 1 to 6. Smart round counter, simple LEDs, honest information. He ran a thumb along the forward grip, felt the recoil vector dampening unit seated properly. It would kick. It would thunder. It would chew through environments. That was the point. His heavy sidearm sat at his hip, built for when distances collapsed and plans became knife fights. He checked the mag, reseated it with a firm push. Small ritual. Nervous system acknowledgement. You are ready. Merrick Saul final checked his DMR, slung his pack, moved toward Sable Wraith. Darian Volk carried an HX-65, silenced. He checked it like checking his own pulse. Oren Valek's SRR-90 railgun stayed cased. 8.9 millimeters, hybrid rail-assisted bolt action. Rare. Feared. Deliberate. When it fired, something important died, and the world noticed. Oren didn't waste that kind of attention. Bram finished his signal kit integration, slapped the panel shut. "Jamming suite is clean," he said. "If they try to talk, they'll think the universe is ignoring them." Kel looked over. Universe usually does. Exactly. Realistic. Jackson's eyes moved to the far side of the pad. 2 large shapes stood under thermal shrouds. Bram walked over, pulled a tablet that glowed soft in the evening light. He stood beside Jaxxon at the edge of the hangar, boots planted, helmet tucked under his arm. The atlases were dormant behind the safety line, not slumped, not powered down the way machines usually were. They stood upright, heads slightly bowed, rifles magnet-locked against their frames. Dark. Inert. Paused mid-thought. Jaxxon watched anyway. He always did. "You bringing them up now?" Bram nodded. "Full wake. Cold start." He stepped forward, palm lifting, not toward a console, but toward them. "Atlas units. Handler authentication." A soft tone answered. Low. Internal. Felt more than heard. "Bram Holt. Override key 7 Delta. Bring Ash online.
Ember standby. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then, motion. Not sudden, not violent. A low whir rolled through the hangar floor as Ash's internal systems spooled. Not a whine, a layered sound, like breath through deep machinery. Plates along the spine shifted a fraction. The head lifted. Lights kindled behind the optics. Not bright, just there. Power nominal, Ash said. The voice was wrong and right. Synthesized but shaped. Weighted. Close enough to human cadence to carry intention. Too precise to be a person. Too warm to be a machine. Jaxxon felt it every time. Joint articulation check. Ash moved. One step forward. Slow. Perfectly balanced. Shoulder rolled, fingers flexed, each movement smooth, controlled, economical. No wasted motion. No noise beyond soft internal whisper of systems aligning. Locomotion nominal. Bram didn't look impressed. He never did. Ember. Online. The second atlas came alive beside the first. Same quiet ascent. Same controlled return to readiness. Different posture, head angled higher, weight centered forward, already anticipating movement. Systems stable, Ember said. Awaiting tasking. Bram walked the line between them, eyes flicking over armor seams, sensor housings, shoulder mounts. Voice even, professional, familiar. Weapon systems. Both atlases moved simultaneously. Rifles came free from chest mounts with practiced fluidity, hands closing around grips, stocks seating into shoulders built for recoil most weapons never asked of. Frames shifted subtly to accommodate weight, balance adjusting without conscious display. Ash reached for a drum magazine from the chest rack, rolled it once, drove it home. The lock seated with solid, mechanical finality. Charging handle back and forward. Clean, deliberate. Ember mirrored the motion. No rush, no show. Bolts cycled. Chambers cleared, then closed. Primary weapon charged. Feed verified. Cycle stable. Bram's gaze lifted to their shoulders.
Auxiliary systems. Armor seams irised open in sequence. Missile housings primed, then safed. Smoke arrays purged and resealed. Mortar chambers pressurized, ghost-checked, locked down. Nothing launched, nothing flared. Just readiness confirmed and folded away. All secondary packages green. Bram nodded once. Good. Jaxxon exhaled through his nose. He never got tired of this part. The way they rose into themselves. The way the hangar seemed to adjust around them once active, like gravity had reconsidered. 9 feet of controlled violence, standing patiently, awaiting direction that would matter. Bram turned, thumb jerking toward the dropship. Kell glanced up at Ash, one hand resting on his DMR. Morning, Ash. Sleep well? I do not sleep. Systems were suspended in low-power standby mode for 6 hours and 41 minutes. Right. So yes. Clarification. Standby mode is not analogous to... He knows, Cade said, not looking up from his rifle. He's fucking with you. Ash's head tilted fractionally. Noted. Kell continues established behavioral pattern. Kell grinned. See? Ash gets me. Elise stood a few paces back, Kit checked twice already, eyes flicking between the atlases and the rest of HAVOC. He'd seen them in briefings, images, specs, operational summaries. None of it prepared him for standing next to one. Ember's sensor array rotated slightly, optics settling on Elise for half a second before moving on. Elise Fulder, Ember said. Medic. First deployment with this unit. Not a question, a statement. Elise swallowed. Yeah, that's me. Your baseline biometrics indicate elevated stress markers. Heart rate 108, Respiration shallow. Silence. Wren glanced over, expression flat. Ember, shut up. Acknowledged. Cade snorted. Welcome to Havoc, Volder. Even the robots roast you here.
Load up! Sable Wraith is green!
Jaxxon shouted over the increasing noise in the hangar. Ash stepped forward without a word. Ember fell in beside it, half a beat offset, their old rhythm unchanged. They mounted the ramp without pause, rifles settling, shoulder systems locking down for flight. Jaxxon watched them go. Veterans, not relics. Not relics pretending relevance, just soldiers who happened to be built differently. As the ramp began to rise, Ash's head turned. Not toward Bram, not toward the ship, toward Jaxxon. A slight incline, barely there. Acknowledgement. 60 seconds. The voice came through Jackson's radio, flat as a status report. He turned back toward the team. Let's move. They moved deep into the hull. Everyone knew their seat. Weapons stowed, equipment secured. HAVOC-9 took positions and strapped in. Ember and Ash took up the rear on either side of the ramp. Mechanical shoulder braces pushed down gently, holding them square. Bram shifted all controls to his forearm unit, put them in standby for the journey. With the unit strapped in, Kel tapped the side of his DMR. If this is a 5-minute job, I'm buying drinks. Cade didn't look up. If it's a 5-minute job, you'll still find a way to get shot. I'll try to keep you alive either way, Elise said quietly. Wren's eyes slid to him. Try doesn't count. Elise held the stare for a beat, then nodded once. Noted. No argument, no wounded pride. Information received and filed. Jaxxon watched it, satisfied in the small, cold way satisfaction came to men like him. Elise didn't need to win the room. He needed to survive it. He needed to do the job. Jaxxon closed the ramp, took his seat next to Ember. Sable Wraith closed its mouth. Engines reached launch velocity. Inside, bay lighting dropped to low red. No bright displays, no glowing strips, just enough to function. Jaxxon ran his own checks by muscle memory. Armor seals green, weapon status green, comms minimal, HUD dimmed. He watched the others' small movements. Cade's hands steady, Dravik's calm precision, Kel's loose posture that would harden when boots hit ground, Holt already listening to silence like it might betray something. Elise sat a fraction too straight, trying not to look like he was trying. Wren sat opposite, posture relaxed, gaze indifferent. Pressure without cruelty, scrutiny without malice. This is how they made men reliable. The ship lifted. Deck vibrated as engines spooled, low frequency moving through ribs and teeth. Outside, cold air dropped away. The base became a dark smudge against white, then nothing. The far north swallowed all evidence of life with the same indifference it had shown for millennia. Jaxxon let his breathing settle. He always did this part the same way. Slow inhale, slow exhale. Let the mind go quiet until only the necessary remained. People imagined men like him lived on adrenaline. They didn't understand. Adrenaline made you sloppy. Calm made you sharp. This was routine work. Not easy, not safe. Routine in the sense that the process was understood. Variables fit inside known parameters. Violence, if it came, would be applied the way you applied pressure to a wound. Precisely, without drama. Drama was waste. Target overview scrolled through his mind. Small mercenary element, bandit adjacent. Raiding supply routes, operating just inside Rethulian borders, where law was supposed to be heavier than fear. Light vehicles, tight timing, clean exfil paths. Someone had taught them. Jaxxon had logged it, forwarded it up the chain. No alarm, no flourish. Just a note. Too organized for scavengers. He wasn't worried yet. Worry was a luxury. He dealt in assessments. After 2.5 hours, Sable Wraith cut altitude to 300 meters. Low and fast. Contour following.
engines tuned to bleed into wind noise rather than cut through it. The pilot's voice came once over internal comms, flat as a report. 90 seconds. Harnesses released in quiet sequence. Boots hit deck. Weapons came free of clamps. No one spoke. The switch had happened somewhere between leaving the base and becoming airborne. The unit wasn't friends now. They were instruments. Jaxxon stood, rolled his shoulders once. Not for show, just to settle armor weight. He watched the team take positions. Arcs understood without words. Every man knew his kill zone. Every man knew who covered him. No speeches, no panic, no second chances. Bram woke Ash and Ember. They moved from their positions to stand in front of the ramp, armed and ready. Bram set them to guard mode. 30 seconds. Immediate dust-off. Evac on your signal. Affirmative. The ramp dropped. Cold slammed in. HAVOC moved, controlled, spacing clean, no wasted motion. Ash went first.
420 kilos of combat frame hitting frozen earth. Snow exploded outward in a clean radius. The deck transmitted the shock through boots and bone. Unmistakable. Ember followed half a second later. Another crater. Another pulse through the ground. The atlases rose smoothly, weapons already tracking. Shoulder arrays deployed with quiet certainty. Sensor clusters rotated, painting terrain in layers HAVOC couldn't see but relied on. Landing zone secure, Ash reported. No movement. No thermal deviation beyond baseline wildlife. Confirmed, Ember added. Atmospheric conditions stable. Visibility optimal for current operational parameters. Cade dropped next, rifle up, sweeping his arc. Translation. It's cold and empty. Accurate summary, Ash replied. Sable Wraith lifted behind them, engines rising, then fading, until there was nothing but wind and snow moving sideways. Jaxxon stepped forward, scanning the tree line. Ridge lines, approach vectors. 5 clicks, stay low. Atlas to point. Ash moved immediately, stride lengthening. It didn't clear the path, it read it. Micro-adjustments. Sensor focus narrowing on concealment points HAVOC would hit seconds later. Ember drifted right, offset, moving through parallel terrain HAVOC couldn't navigate safely. Too dense, too deep. But Ember's mass and balance turned obstacles into approach vectors. Jaxxon watched them work. 2 atlases changed everything. HAVOC didn't lead anymore, didn't move slowest. The atlases saw farther, endured more, absorbed what would cripple human operators. It made HAVOC faster, more flexible. It also made them dependent. Jaxxon stepped forward, rifle low, eyes working the terrain. Ridge lines, snow load, wind direction. Forest breaks ahead, dark smears against white. He tagged a route in his HUD with a single motion. 5 clicks. We stay low. Atlas to point. Ash moved immediately, stride lengthening as it took the lead. Ember drifted right, offset, sensors sweeping. HAVOC fell in behind them. No rush, no drag. Boots found rhythm. Breathing settled. Snow deepened as they moved inland. Wind eased under the trees, replaced by soft creak of branches carrying ice. Visibility narrowed. Sound died. The forest swallowed them. No one spoke. Cade scanned doorways that didn't exist. Habit. Kell watched the rear, marking angles, already thinking about where he'd make his stand if needed. Folder kept pace in the center, fingers brushing his kit without looking. Dravik adjusted a charge on his rig. Careful, almost gentle. Wren ghosted along the flank, eyes never still. Holt walked with his head slightly tilted, listening to signals no one else could hear. Volk was simply there, and then not, moving through shadow between trees. Snow took their sound. Darkness took their shape. 5 kilometers passed without incident. No contacts, no signatures, no surprises. At 1 kilometer out, Jaxxon raised a fist. The unit halted as one. Ash knelt at the tree line ahead, weapon steady. Ember angled its sensors forward, locking down the approach. Jaxxon checked the terrain one last time. Wind. Snow. The faint hiss of his own breath inside his helmet. The subtle servo whisper of armor micro-adjustments. Nothing else. He lowered his hand and they flowed forward. Somewhere ahead, a small group of men were raiding supply routes with the confidence of people who hadn't yet met something that didn't negotiate. They thought violence was personal. They thought it was anger, ego, desperation. HAVOC didn't do anger. HAVOC did logistics. When the time came, they would apply force the way you applied a stamp to paper. Firm, final, without ceremony. They would remove the problem from the border and leave the snow looking almost untouched. Contained violence, or so everyone thought. Jaxxon's HUD pinged once. Volk's marker, silent update, movement ahead, heat faint against the cold, too steady to be wildlife. Jaxxon logged it without emotion, too organized for scavengers, still not worried, not yet. He signaled forward with 2 fingers, and HAVOC-9 moved into the white distance like a decision already made.